Dog and Scissors is the dumbest anime I watched in a long time. Before I started complaining about it, I gotta admit that I kinda like this show. This is dumb and idiotic, but I appreciate the comedy, characters, and fan service. That being said, this anime is stupid. Dog and Scissors make Fairy Tail look like a brilliant masterpiece. Then this anime has interesting premise, an interesting premise, but it's so damn stupid in its execution. If this show didn't have such a beautiful brunette waifu, I would have stopped after a minute. Having a vampire gothic lady is too hot and pretty for me to ignore and not appreciate. She reminds me of Yumeko from That's Made of Amnesia, minus the tits and constant nudity. Even the protagonist is constantly mocking her slender figure and points out the modest size of her breast. I'm a fan of both types of boobs, as long as they are attached to such a beautiful, slender, white, tall, brunette girl. The main chick is exactly my type, plus she has that devilish red eyes to add to her dangerous allure. Apparently, she's a rather accomplished author. Yeah, talking about absurd fantasy. But the weirdness does not stop here. As from the title, the anime implies a dog, and the one protagonist dies and gets reincarnated as a dog. The anime came before the isekai became such a popular trend. Even to this time, the premise is rather weird. The anime also has a kind of strange bestiality angle, but if you are a hentai veteran, this aspect shouldn't surprise you.
Oh my! Are you telling me you want my children already? What would everybody say if my first time was with a miniature dachshund?
It's kind of weird how the girl flirts with the dog and even considers a relationship. It gets stupid dumb at many times. Now I kind of see now I kind of see the allure of this premise to be a submissive pet to a devilish pale mistress. However, when put on screen, it just feels wrong and stupid, even for an anime standards. Before becoming a dog, the protagonist was a book enthusiast. He was a rather productive individual. From the very start, I dislike this guy. I'm a lazy fuck who hates books, unless they have pictures. I'm in total agreement with Gaston on this topic when it comes to books, when it comes to literature. Anyhow, I don't read much because too much information pollutes your mind and makes you perceive the world around you harder. Also, I rather prefer to play video games or watch anime, which is all I do while I skip my college classes. Yeah, there are similarities between me and the soon to be dog protagonist. I kinda see the premise of the show work for a comedy, and that is exactly what this show can ever hope to be. The main character dies in an armed robbery, and his passion for books gives him a second chance at life as an animal. Huh. Not much of a deal, sadly, if you ask me, but I guess he can still enjoy his hobby even as a dog. Well, it would be hard to turn those pages with those paws of his. However, that is why he has a mistress, the brunette waifu, is the only reason I watch the show. Because otherwise there is so little quality content here to offer and entertainment value. There are some awesome parts that are fun to watch, like when the brunette girl exposes her white skin and wears revealing bondage underwear.
Come on, pervert puppy. You know I'm irresistible, so why don't you tell me about it?
She also has dominatory tendencies towards our poor dog, who has to endure her dominance. Again, I can kind of relate to the allure of this premise, but again, becoming an animal to enjoy a waifu is not a fair trait, considering the many other options anime has to offer. Why not become a handsome prince and bang all the elves, dark-skinned Amazons, and noble women, and strong female adventurers from another fantasy world? Here the main character becomes a dog, and gets stepped on frequently by a hot but mean waifu. As the princess stated, the slender brunette evil chick stereotype is totally what I enjoy in anime. So yeah, even as a dog, I would still find a way to smack that slender white ass of hers.
Maybe if you turn into some text. Then again, you're not that 3D to start with.
She seems not to mind the idea and even likes it kinda. Let's talk about the fight scene. This was the dumbest thing ever put on screen. You thought Fairy Tail has bad action. Well, this one sets a brand new bar of how lame and horrible action can be in an anime. The whole setup is dumb. The opponent is using imaginary fantasy moves to fight a girl half his size. Not only that, it actually is effective. That dude straight up murdered a guy, and now he struggles against a girl and uses Chinibyo fighting style. Yeah, I guess reading books have changed his behavior and perspective on life. When it comes to self-perversion, when it comes to self-preservation, adapt you will employ fantasy fighting techniques and books as armor to survive. The lame fight ends up in a defeat, and our wife will even suggests killing him while he's unconscious. What? Murdering someone for murder is not the answer, especially if you are going to take justice into your own hands and not in a court of law. Now this anime was written by a 5-year-old. Even so, the whole setup of having a submissive dog protagonist is absurd. A submissive dog protagonist be abused by a brunette dominatrix is a fun idea if you're willing to ignore the many problems and dumb scenarios that appear in this story. Reminds me in a way of Another trash anime I will eventually review. An absurd, captivating premise, poorly implemented in a weird narrative. Let's talk about some secondary katas, and oh boy, the anime only gets worse. When I thought the show couldn't be more stupid, we get the editor of Natsuno, and she is batshit insane.
Wow, Empress Nagangu is fighting now.
It kind of hurts me to see her act like such a lunatic, but this is the best the show has to offer, and I gotta stick with it till the end. She calls Natsuno flat-chested. While a nice move and suggesting a boob job is a rather interesting prospect.
Or you could go to the hospital and get a boob job. If you insist on keeping that chest, people are gonna think you're a man.
Thankfully, the anime understands the value of interest just as much as most harem on the market, and Kazuhito gets to enjoy a cousin to waking up in the morning. They kind of change it afterwards. She becomes his actual blood relative, his actual sister. It was a bit interesting how at first he called her cousin, then yeah, it's just a sister.
Up and at him, big brother. You're gonna be late for school if you don't get out of bed right now.
Well, the closer in the bloodline, the better. Naturally, it's either a dream or recollection of the past, because he's a dog now.
Flirting with another girl after we talked about having kids? Then again, I should expect nothing else from a dog.
And most importantly, Madoka Harumi is a pretty delicious waifu to add to my collection. While Natsuno is mean, dark, and mysterious, like Batman, Madoka is cheerful, helpful, and pretty. Kinda a nice cousin to fuck on the side, even as an animal. Afro-kun is also a cat that makes constant cameos for the show. Black guy in anime isn't my style. The Good Luck Girl had one for comedy relief, and this show gets another for the very same reason. However, the cat I've been looking for is Maxi Akizuki. She's a blonde bimbo idol who for some reason is also a best-selling author. Weird how these beautiful young waifus can be accomplished despite their chaotic personalities and early age. Natsuno is 20 years old and this Akizuki is even younger, so damn, and to write hundreds of books already. While pursuing your hobby. As I said before, Akizuki is an idol and she has built quite a famous career for herself with a tight schedule which constantly comes to bite her in the ass.
Enough of that. I told you not.
She has a rivalry with Natsuno, even from their first episode, and manages to finally get attention for an epic confrontation. She's she sticks her pose to evidentiate her awesome boobs, so big and bouncy.
The have and the have-not. It makes my upper body shine particularly brightly.
Oh, really?
It was an obvious offense to Natsuno's slender figure, and most of all, flat chest. The devilish girl takes offense is ready for combat, considering Akizuki even calls her flat-chested to her face. She was about to go down.
Miss No Tits.
Let's go, Snowflake.
Whatever you say, vampire.
Thankfully, her bodyguards take her way to some concert. I think it's thematic how the blonde bimbo sings the ending song of the anime, and I really like her diva persona. She's shining brighter than a star. And it's voiced by my favorite female voice actress, Renee Karbowski. Perfect combination for a bright, beautiful waifu to rival our brunette pale vampire mistress. Gotta also mention the opening song. This is the worst introduction to an anime ever. The dance is so goddamn lame and the overall sound is simply annoying. The anime has its major problems. As it is, we don't need a shitty, horrible opening song to add to my misfortune. If the show were just about Natsuno and how she handles her dog, this might have been salvageable. Natsuno is a hot, interesting, and intriguing female character. If only she was in another anime. A slender Yuko Kanoe from Dusk Meadow Nation with a Senjugahara tsundere personality from Bakemonogatari. Whoa, a perfect match with a terrible anime. That's what that really brings the show down is how it sets up scenarios but fails to deliver even a little on its premise. For example, even Natsune Akizuki finally grew an epic showdown. It gets started before they can even fight. While this cockblock technique is standard for anime, at least we get to see an exchange of few blows before stopping the fight. Here, however, they don't even compete, but the whole thing stops, which makes the whole scenario pointless. This whole anime should have been a few OVAs. The show is filled with filler, and it is a short 12-episode adventure. As I said before, I like the main waifu for being dangerous, brunette, and dominant. I love the slender brunette mean archetype, and her having a rivalry with a blonde cheerful bimbo is as stereotypical and enjoyable as an anime can be. Kinda reminds me of Haganai. Despite all the efforts, the whole show sucks. The dog protagonist is not being the dog protagonist is underdeveloped, but he's an anime after all, and the whole romance feels awkward. I guess there's a demographic for this fetish, but they have access to hentai and doujinshi. We don't need this bullshit. I give Dog and Scissors a generous and forgiving 6 out of 10. I like the main waifu, and at times I kinda had fun, but the anime is very bad. I cannot recommend it.